Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I am Phoebe Nelms, and joining me today is the lovely Liz Hansen. And we're glad that you joined us for this session about submitting for the Quality Payment Program. Just going to provide a few reminders. And if you have something you'd like to share with us, if you have a question, we really want it to be interactive as well. So go ahead and put it in the chat. All righty. So we have, of course, our learning opportunities every month. We'll keep you posted in our newsletter. Keep a lookout for that. If you're not signed up, let me know and we'll get you signed up. What are we going to talk about today? Today, we're going to talk about your 2023 QPP submission. Go over a checklist, give you some submission tips, and we have our resource slide. The topic du jour. So, are you ready? Are you ready to report? You've been looking forward to it, haven't you? Or maybe you've been dreading it. In either case, it's here. The window's open. The submission window is now live as of January 2nd. You can sign in and submit and review your data for the 2023 performance year. You can submit and update your data anytime until April 1st. Now, that's a little different for us because usually it's always been March 31st. So this year, it's April 1st, 2024 at 8 p.m.
I
Eastern.
don't like that date, Phoebe. I'm just telling you. I would have preferred the end of March. April 1st just seems wrong.
Oh my goodness. We can blame any gotchas on that one then, okay? So then the submission window closes and what's in there is in there. Can't change it after that. But you can change or remove things. Oh, no, sorry. Ooh, not remove. You can change up to this time, but not remove data. And the MIPS uncontrolled circumstances exclusion was open until the 2nd of January, but that's also closed now.
And Phoebe, if I can mention something about that extreme and uncontrollable circumstance exclusion, we did still have some practices that took that for 2020 or yeah, they took it and they're sticking with it for 2023. And that's okay. We just want to make sure that everybody understands that you need to make sure you have your evidence to prove whatever the reason was that you gave that you were taking that exclusion. So if that means you need documentation to prove your turnover rate, or that you were having to do trainings once every other month, or that you had at least one individual out sick every week for 6 months or whatever, and all of that justification is, we need to make sure that you have it and that you keep it, because someone can come ask you for it. And we're a little concerned about that because they haven't asked for it yet. And we kind of like to get that over with and see what happens when they do. So we just want you to be prepared. So if you took that, make sure you've got your justification ready.
Exactly. Great reminder, Liz. Thanks for sharing that. So we're going to jump into our QPP submission checklist. You know how if you don't use your QPP access for a certain length of time, you'll have to reset your password, and it's a little bit of a hassle. So make sure that you try to keep it current and that you can access your QPP account, your HARP, and coordinate with your vendor as to who is doing what. Get that in an email, something you can provide as evidence if they're going to report certain data for you. Then you want to check your eligibility for each of the clinicians to see whether they are still required to report, because they have certain determination periods throughout the year. And then, are you going to report for each clinician individually, or are you guys going to do it as a group according to your TIN? If individually, which providers are you reporting for? And then if as a group, the reports must include all the providers that you'll be reporting for. And Liz has something to say because I see her mouth moving, but the voice isn't coming through.
Thank you, Phoebe. I'm trying to control my mouth, right? But I got to remember to unmute as well. I have been surprised a couple times recently. Usually when we work with folks, we work at the individual level. So we look at the individual provider throughout the year to correct numbers, improve numbers. And I had a couple of folks that thought they had to report that way and had kind of forgotten because of 2 years of EUCEs, had forgotten that even though you've been tracking through the year individually, you can report as a group. And if that's faster and just as good a score, we strongly recommend that you do that because in the long run, it's more simple for the data. So you may have to ask your EHR to generate the group report for that same date range, and that's okay. And give them a week or two to do that if you would. But we do encourage you, regardless of how you've managed your data and your measures all year long, that if you have the opportunity and can report as a group without it hurting anyone's score, then you could do that.
Great tip. Yeah, okay. So the next option, decision thing on the checklist, are you excluding any components such as maybe the promoting interoperability category? If you're going to take an exclusion, you want to make sure that you check the right boxes. And the best time frame to report for promoting interoperability is what you want to select. You don't want to choose a time period, a 90-day period where, you know, your scores aren't as good. And if you're doing it for the full year, that's also another option. And again, you should have your individual reports or your group reports printed out so you can look at them or have them up on another screen while you're going through your submission so that you can accurately capture the numbers from the report to put it into the QPP portal for your PI category. You want to also make sure that you have your certified electronic health record number available also to enter for your PI category. And if you're using a report that's generated from the vendor, the QR3 report, have that in hand as well for each individual or for the group. And of course, we always emphasize and stress that you need to have an audit folder with all the evidence to support anything that you submit in case you're randomly selected for an audit. You really want to have all your I's dotted and T's crossed in this area because those folks who have been selected for an audit, it is not a pleasant experience and it can be quite stressful. But if you are prepared, that takes away a lot of the stress.
And Phoebe, we've had, just as a word of warning to folks, we've had 2 different practices who had extreme and uncontrollable circumstances, exceptions approved, who were audited on data. They weren't audited for their justification for the exclusion. They were audited on quality data that they didn't even report manually. So, of course, the quality data, some of it gets reported by claims and 2 different practices, and it was quite a shock. Keep your data, folks. Regardless of what you do, keep your evidence folder, please.
So, you know, it may seem like a bit redundant, but, you know, if you're, even if you didn't plan a report and you got the exception, it might be a good idea to print out your quality report for that performance year. You know, as a safeguard. All righty. So when you do report, and if if you make some decisions that, okay, we're going to report this, not report that, how do you know the impact it's going to have? Well, thankfully, every year in the documentation on the QPP website, they provide somewhere a handy chart or several places where you will be able to see what happens, what redistribution takes place if you're a small practice based on what you've reported. And we won't go through all of them. I don't want to put you to sleep, but maybe we'll take just one. So let's say that you're a small practice, you don't have to report cost, but you're going to do everything else. You're going to report quality and you're going to do your improvement activities and your PI. Well, then your quality will be weighed at 55%, your improvement activities 15, and your promoting interoperability at 30. And on down the list. Liz, you had any other insights to add to this handy dandy chart?
Yeah, this thing just scares the dickens out of me. And those of you that work with me that are on the webinar today, and there's some of you, you know I get a little freaky with you on this. You got to be real careful and smart about how you look at this. Some of these are not realistic. Okay, I mean, how do you not do quality, right? There's a very, very slim chance that there's even a process available for you not to report quality, much less your qualifications to do so. So that's really not an option here. What a lot of us are looking at is, okay, what happens as a specialist if we don't have a cost number? Because that's not one we can get rid of, but a lot of folks aren't going to have a cost number because they don't have enough attributable patients as a specialist. You know, to look down here and see no cost, no improvement activities is 70% quality weighted. I just want to recommend to folks, try not to do anything that increases the percentage on the quality side, because that is hard. Okay, that's very hard. And we're going to talk a little bit at the end, but the bad thing is you're not really going to be seeing your scores this year until June or July. So you won't really know how you did until then. And I'll just
Oh joy.
yeah, leave it with that. Just know what you're doing. Put your head into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
And the
call
thing is,
Phoebe.
huh?
Call Phoebe.
And you know, the thing is that quality, it spans the entire year. And so it's like, you got to be on it always. Okay. So let's say you've made all those heavy decisions and you are logging into the QPP portal using your HARP ID and your password, which you've kept up to date. You access your organization. You access your organization's report, you have it in hand, and you've decided whether you're going to report for a group or an individual, and you've set up your audit folder, you have all your evidence collected, and you've saved all the supporting documentation, and you're ready to go. So then you sign in, and let's say you want to do quality first. What do you need to do? If you have that QRDA3 file, you can upload it to the QPP site and save that report in your audit folder. Save that report in your audit folder.
Because it won't look like that if you print that. If you generate that same report a week from now, it won't be the same. Save the report you used to upload.
Awesome. So make sure that report includes your best scored quality measures. If you have a problem, by now many vendors, I believe, have it so that you can generate the QRDA3 easier than when we first started. But if you need their assistance to do so, because some of them you actually still have to request it, then please don't wait till the last minute. They'll be swamped. Ask them now. And then whatever instructions they provide to upload that file, and also the instructions on the QPP portal, go ahead and follow those instructions to avoid any problems. Liz, have you noticed that people are having a pretty easy time doing this now, unlike when we first started?
And I just think more people are more accustomed to uploading files onto the web. And so it's very similar if you use SharePoint, any shared kind of drive, it's a very similar process to upload the QRDA3 file. I don't think it'll give you any trouble.
Awesome. And there's another format that's acceptable, the JSON, but I don't see many people using that.
Right.
All right, so then you're ready to report your improvement activities. Each one of them has their own unique ID number. So then select make sure you pick the one that you really want to report. Sometimes it's easy to mix up the numbers, and that would not be good. So make sure you have the right ID for the activity you're trying to report. Understand what the weight is of each one. Some are medium, some are high weighted. For small practices, you have to do 2 medium or 1 high. Make sure that you have a date range for the activity that you performed. And I used to erroneously tell people, well, report as many as you're actually doing. That turned out to be not good, because you will be responsible for everything you submit or report on in the event you're chosen for an audit. And in this case, you want to meet the criteria, 2 medium or 1 high, but not more than that. You don't get any extra credit, and then you open yourself up for, oh, you got to prove that you did it. So make sure you've reported enough to receive full credit. Save copies of your validation materials in the audit folder. So if you have any doubt about what those validation materials are, there's a very good resource on the QPP resource library that will list out, okay, this is satisfy this validation criteria, this document will satisfy it, etc. Any other thoughts, Liz?
No, I have had in the past, I've gotten to the point we were ready to submit and didn't realize that a lot of VHRs don't really give the ID number.
Mm.
And then you get in there ready to submit and you got to stop and go look up the ID number. So make sure you can see that ID number in your report. And if you can't, then just go look it up on the QPP site. So you have that, you know, that IA and then the 5-letter piece that comes after it. You want to be able, you need to know that. And a lot of EHRs, for whatever reason, don't have it. I guess maybe they thought it was going to change a lot. And I'm with you, Phoebe, on this validation report, the document that gives you all the validation requirements are. That is a huge benefit to be able to have that report and use it. It's the kind of thing that you and I used for years and made them up ourselves. And now it's available on the QPP site. And it's available for improvement activities and for promote interoperability. So take advantage of that. That's good stuff.
It's good stuff. Okay, so everybody's favorite category. Maybe not. Promoting interoperability. Again, you want to have your scores on hand or on another screen so you can see your numerator and your denominator as you're entering it onto the QPP portal. That makes it so much easier and goes so much faster when you have it in front of you. There are, of course, different thresholds. Some you just have to say yes to, and others you need to enter in that numerator and denominator. Take your time. Make sure you check your entries, not to transpose numbers. And then save copies of all the documentation that supports your responses. Again, save that report for that specific time period that you use to submit your data.
And that screen.
Save the screen in the portal?
I put them to PDF because I don't know, one year things kind of changed. And so I just like for the folks to have proof of what they actually submitted.
Print screen, PDF. Okay. Save it. Yeah. Technology is wonderful when it works, but when it doesn't, you got to have a backup.
Yeah.
All right. So as always, the security risk analysis is very important to attest that you've completed it. Make sure you include on your proof that you've completed it, the date that you did the assessment, and if there are issues that show up that you need to address, things that you need to mitigate or fix, make sure that you also include on your records of your security risk analysis that you've have a plan and projected dates by which you will address those issues that show up. It's not something you have to submit, but it's something you have to keep a record of. And in addition, they've also made the safer guides another priority. You have to attest yes or no but you have to attest to something. You can't leave it blank. If you leave it blank, you're done. You're toast. So
Yeah.
don't leave it blank. Yeah, and so the specific one that we have to test to so far is high priority practices. And there's guidance for that in the QPP resource library promoting interoperability resources. You can find out more information and read each measure specification to find out where to find the safer guide.
And Phoebe, the irony is not lost on us that the one measure that a no is acceptable could make you flunk the whole thing if you leave it blank.
Yeah.
You'd think if it didn't matter what the answer was, it wouldn't matter if you filled it out. But it's devastating to your score if you leave it blank. So
Yeah.
don't mess with that.
Yeah. The little details, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. Yeah. So you also want to answer the other attestation questions that you did not knowingly or willfully take action to disable the functionality, limit or restrict the compatibility or interoperability of your certified electronic health record technology system. Attest that you will or did cooperate with the Office of the National Coordinator if they request a direct review. And test that you will or did cooperate with ONC ACB surveillance review in good faith if you did or did not, if you do or did receive such a request. Just say yes.
Yeah, just say yes. That one's confusing.
It is. It is. It always has been. I try to
Yeah.
make it simpler, but it doesn't really help. So with the other measures for PI, you have to attest to being in active engagement with a public health agency to submit immunization data and receive immunization forecasts and histories from the Public Health Immunization Registry information system, which is GRITS here in Georgia. So if you don't meet the criteria for the measure, then attest to meeting the exclusion or select the exclusion.
If you meet the exclusion.
If you meet the exclusion. So not giving any kind of immunizations at all. It's on the measure specification sheet, what criteria you have to meet for the exclusions.
Yeah, and there's not a lot in Georgia, okay, because this is available. I've had people tell me, oh, no, I'm taking the exclusion because they don't have it for my system in Georgia. And I'm like, no, that's your system's fault. They got it in Georgia. So you need to be particular about that.
Yeah. And also electronic case reporting of reportable conditions. Attest to being in active engagement with a public health agency to submit electronic case reporting. If not, attest for meeting an exclusion. Liz, I'm going to need your help on this one. You sent me something earlier about how you do this through the Department of Public Health. They provide some sort of
Yeah, and I'm really
sheet.
worried about this one because so many people don't know about it and the vendors didn't get it done until the last minute. And so they weren't, making headlines and telling everybody, hey, we don't have this done yet, even though you're going to get penalized if we don't. So the minimum that we want is we want folks to at least get registered. Now it's too late for me to help you with that for last year, okay? Because you have to get registered within the first 60 days of your attestation period. So if you waited for promote interoperability and you used October 3rd to December 31st for your attestation period, you would have had to have had this done by the 2nd of December to meet that 60-day, within 60 days. And we're past 60 days now. So this is something, I guess, to do going forward. And perhaps we'll talk about this at another time, but there is a form that goes to the Department of Public Health that you can fill fully out and check the box that says you want to do electronic case reporting and submit that. So at least you've gotten started on the registration process. You really need to talk to your vendor. If your vendor's not responding, become a squeaky wheel. You don't have an option on this, and there's not many reasons for an exclusion. There are some specialties that do not have any codes that are part of electronic case reporting, but not a lot. And even if you don't report it, if you've got one of the codes that should be reported, the exclusion doesn't apply. So you need to be careful with this one. You need to work with your EHR vendor, and you need to fill out that form on DPH that says you're registered. And just as a quick, I'm going to say something about this at the end, but remember that you can be registered and be pre-production 1 year only. So 1 year to get it figured out, and then from then on you have to be in production. Okay, you can't stay in pre-production for more than 1 year, which you could do in the past. You can't do that more. 1 year to get it right, production from then on. So
Yeah, when I was looking into learning more about this, I went to the CDC website and they tell you what electronic case reporting is, but I don't know if they've updated it so that you can actually access what you need to do to register from their link.
And I suspect that was intentional, and I don't blame them. This is a process. It's like grits in that each EHR has to do the interface, and they have to be approved by the AIMS, or the national organization that tracks all this data. So it's a multi-step process the vendors have to go through, and they weren't working on it early. Okay. So everybody, I've only seen there's like 6 to 8 out of hundreds of vendors that have it fully functional.
Oh my.
So
we need some squeaky wheels out there.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about this. And so, and actually even some of the ones that I knew hadn't told their clients how to get registered.
Yeah, I had that experience. There was someone that the EHR had been working on it, but the rep that the practice reached out to didn't realize that it was available. So they had to do internal research to then share it with the practice. So
yeah, just for those new things that is going to bite some people in the rear end.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
So then there are, excuse me, attest to any additional registry reporting options, public health registry or clinical data registry for extra credit. So does that CDC, oh my goodness, what was it?
The National Health Survey Registry?
Yes, that still works for this measure, correct?
Yeah. And a lot of folks, especially in specialties, use like the Prime Registry, or I think it was BigMD, and I think they've changed that name now. But if you use a specialty registry, then that might be extra credit for you. But 5 points is 5 points. Get them if you can.
Get them if you can. I love it. All righty. So we already went over this particular one. Enter the data for the numerator and denominator measures from your report that you have saved somewhere. Take exclusions as applicable. If you can, provide some documentation that you do meet the criteria for the exclusion, and do not leave blank or with a 0 if you don't have an exclusion. You'll fail the entire component of PI. Can you imagine you've done all that work and you come up to something that you should fill in and you leave it blank, and then all the hard work evaporates? All the points for PI disappear? How would you feel? Awful. So Liz, how can we make this stand out even more?
Yeah, I don't know how we can, other than to say it again and again and again, because that I'm more worried now than I was, because I was thinking, oh, if you do it wrong the first time, then the score is going to come up and you're going to realize what you did. But now I don't know how much of the score is going to come up. Doing our first submission next week, so I won't, or no, this week, sorry, tomorrow. So I don't exactly know
what it's going to look like in the portal.
What it's going to look like if it's not going to give me a score. So I'm interested in finding that out. But
Wait, no preliminary score, even when you put in the data? I thought it was like the preliminary thing they'd give you down the road in June. I sure hope that's not what they meant.
well, I did go back and read it, Phoebe. I freaked out a little, and then I went back and read it. It does imply that it's going to give you the component score,
Okay.
but I don't know that, and I haven't seen it.
Oh, well, you'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, and when we see it. And another thing on here, had you gone over the pieces? I just didn't want them to be worried about. I know we talked about that there is actually a third health information exchange option.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes.
I just don't want anybody to think that we forgot it, and we intentionally didn't put it on here because it is something that really is what we used to call vaporware. It's a great idea. It's going to happen. The government's behind it 100%, but it doesn't exist right here today. So it's not a solution for you guys. And we don't want you wasting time. That's not a solution for you. We do want to encourage everybody to join the Health Information Exchange, whether it's our hybrid solutions exchange or whether it is another local one or whatever. It's time to get active on Health Information Exchange. And we've got all these health equity issues that are coming up, and it makes this even more
Crucial.
so vital. So
Right.
get off the soapbox. Go ahead.
We went to the Office of the National Coordinator. They're over everything health IT. We went to their conference in Washington, D.C. Last month.
Last month.
And this really got a lot of attention. I mean, there's some really great things happening where there is more maturity with people, small practices, everybody seeing the benefit and importance of becoming a part of the Health Information Exchange. And, we have a product here at Morehouse School of Medicine, the Hybrid HIE, that really will help with the coordination of care and so many other things. Hopefully we can connect to that social determinants of health piece and really impact health equity and justice, which is the mission of Morehouse School of Medicine.
And it can make your quality scores better.
Yeah, and it's just win-win. It's worth the effort to get that connected, interoperable flow of data in spite of what electronic health records you presently have. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to beat that horse anymore. We want everybody to be audit ready. We've stated it a few times throughout the presentation because it's that important, and we really want you to avoid the stress of, if you're selected for an audit, of not being prepared for it. So again, we'll reiterate, save a copy of your quality report, save your PI reports for the period for which you attested. Save all your improvement activities documentation. Use the validation document that CMS provides to make sure that you are meeting their criteria for what will stand up in an audit. Review the validation documents to know what's acceptable as evidence.
And Phoebe,
yes,
if I could interrupt you, back up on those PI reports and the validation. What that tells you is you need proof that you had grips working. You need proof that you were pre-registered or in production for the ECR. So it's not just that report of numerators and denominators. You need some kind of physical, soft copies by proof that you were doing what you said you were doing.
Right. And so sometimes we neglect to view our emails as pieces of evidence. So is there a way to maybe print a PDF those emails? Because sometimes it's hard to find what you're looking for when, months have gone by or sometimes years. So, an email that confirms that you did this or that, or you're registered here or there, or that what we were talking about earlier, the registration form on the DPH website. You'll know you found the right one when you come across something that's pink and green.
Okay. Explain it.
Right. So save your QPP screens to PDF. That was a great tip, Liz. The print button is in the upper right corner of each screen on the QPP portal. Excuse me. Make sure you expand the detail on the overview and quality screens, and we'll see if any of that changes.
Yeah, we don't know if the detail's going to be there anymore. So if it is, then expand it before you print.
Awesome. So QPP audit folder. Make sure you have one. And so remember that the scores are not final on the QPP. Hopefully we'll see something. If a third party reported for you, check what they reported. Even if you're in an APM and you took or obtained a hardship exception for the promoting interoperability category. Oh, well, okay, expand on that one for me.
So, whether they should or they shouldn't, they legally can. Your ACOs, which form APMs, can cherry pick somewhat who's promoting interoperability scores get submitted, because in an ACO, usually the only thing the practice submits is the promoting interoperability scores. And many times an ACO will check the practice's scores. And if it's a small practice and the scores are bad in promoting interoperability, they'll tell them to take that small practice PI exception because their scores are bad. And no harm, no foul. Contrary, they might find somebody that has really good scores and say, please, we need you to make sure you submit because your scores are really good and we need those good scores. So that's what that's about. So you just need to check. If an ACO is reporting for you and all you're doing is the PI, check it. If they told you not to report, so you didn't, check it.
And remember that time when somebody's report included their PI and they didn't know, and then they reported PI and it canceled.
Like canceled everybody, zero. They lost 25 points, just like that. Because the vendor submitted it. They thought the vendor was only submitting quality, and instead the vendor submitted quality and PI.
And we were just 2 through because this was early in the program. And they had said that you can report via multiple ways. You can support quality by claims, you can support it by different reporting mechanisms, but it's not that way for PI. Only one submission for PI.
That's why you've got to communicate and why you've heard me say it 1,000,000 times, inspect what you expect. Go look at it.
Yep. Okay, so here we are. We're going to repeat that. You can use a combination of reporting methods for every other category, and your best score will be used, usually, for the quality component that is not the same for promoting interoperability. And again, that lovely deadline, April 1st.
Day.
I didn't want to say it.
I know you didn't, but I did.
Oh, and up till then, we're available to assist. So that's all for today, folks. Liz, there are some things you wanted to mention before
I did. Because we're in a changing situation with our 2024 rules, I just want to take a couple minutes and give you some heads up about some rules in 2024 that you could already be impacting. And the biggest one, I believe, is that promoting interoperability in 2024 will no longer be a 90-day minimum period. It will be a 180-day minimum period. So you can no longer wait until August the 3rd to start your reporting period. It has to happen 6 months before December 31st. That's huge, folks. That takes away half our flexibility for promoting interoperability. So don't mess around now. Get it figured out now so you got plenty of time to get a good score. Used to be Phoebe and I wouldn't hassle you maybe till April on promoting interoperability, but we're out of time. You need to focus on it now and make sure things are right. Remember that the electronic case reporting, if you're getting registered, has to be done in the first 60 days. If you've got a 180-day ramp period, those 60 days occur in July and August, not in October and November. Whole different scenario. We just lost half the year, okay? The safer guides in 2024, you've always been able to say, yeah or no, I didn't. Yes, I did it, or no, I didn't. And as long as you said yes or no, it counted. In 2024, you got to do them. If you've been doing them, well, you got to do the high priority. If you've been doing it every year, piece of cake, you're not going to have to worry about it. If you've never done it before, you need to go ahead and start reading up on that, because it's much easier than it looks, but it looks pretty scary. So go ahead and get into it. On the quality side, I just feel like I need to tell everybody that I'm incredibly concerned that they've taken 3 of the measures that were kind of fallbacks for specialists, because there's so few quality measures that really apply to specialists. They have taken 3 of those most popular measures and have combined them into one measure, which they feel is more comprehensive. Fine, well and good. But when I got 6 measures, and now you've taken those 6 measures and combined 3 of them, now I'm down to 4 measures. Uh-oh. And those 3 measures, they took out several, but the 3 that really hurt are breast cancer screening, colorectal screening, and BMI, maintaining BMI. Again, very popular. Now, folks, they haven't even provided the specs for those yet, but yet they've been moved to the preventive care and wellness quality measure. My concern is, because that measure has not been released, it is quite possible you won't get to take credit for any of those, because it has to be working from the first of the year. If they haven't given the specs for it, your EHRs don't have it and can't report it. So unless your EHRs can go back and gather that data and parse it and put it where it belongs in the new measure, you might not be able to use even the new measure.
Ouch.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, as I think on these things, it gets me a little freaked out. But the net of this is, get on your quality now. Find out from your vendor what quality is available. And folks, if you can't get it, then join a register, or join something like a registry, or something like MIPS Pro. Join something that can get you quality, because that's going to be a problem in 2024. I've said that every year, and now it's worse than before. So join an ACO, maybe go for MVPs this year, so you have to do less, but pay attention now. We don't have the 6 months we used to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the direction CMS has always said they want everyone to go to anyway. MIPS is just like an on-ramp. They really do want everybody to go ACO, APM.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some specialties, the only way they make it is because they're part of a registry and have access to more measures than their EHR.
Right, because ACOs still aren't, gobbling up specialists. Because
They
are not.
They're not.
Oh, they're not. They're just not as open to specialists as they are primary care, because specialists can't feed them all the data they need to build up their numbers, right? So specialists, they need to figure out, and I think CMS is working on that, how to get more specialists into ACOs. I'd like to see them make it a requirement, but then I'll whine about it when they do it. Right, but folks need to get in ACOs if they can. And if not, go with the registry and let them help you take care of it.
Yeah, and do your research on the ACOs. You don't want to get into one that then evaporates.
Okay.
All righty, so every 3rd Tuesday of the month, we try to provide you with exceptional educational content to help you with your health information technology needs or practice needs. So just keep an eye out for our emails. And all the information that was not from Liz's invaluable experience, or our personal experience with assisting practices came from the horse's own mouth, which is the Quality Payment Program website and the wonderful resources that they have there. And I have to give them kudos for keeping their word. They said it would be dynamic. They said they would provide resources, and they have proven true. And it just keeps getting better and better. You can even go and watch their webinars, and find all the wonderful documents that we referenced on the QPP resource library, safer guides and measures, specifications, and so on. And then there's the handy dandy QPP help desk. And there's also help with HARP. If you're locked out and you need to reset your password, you can access HARP at this number. So we are very, very happy to have brought you this information and to encourage you along your MIPS journey. Okay, well, I'm gonna assume that you got all your answers from our webinar, and that if you have something you want to share with us, that you can reach out to us. Here's our contact information on this slide. And it's been a pleasure serving you. Thanks for joining us on this flight through QPP Submission Program Year 2023. Have a great one, y'all.
Thank you.